Hello and welcome to what is effectively round 1 2.0 of the League of Europe Porsche Cup. Last week was a bit chaotic. I personally really enjoyed it, but there was a bit of chaos with the boost on. So this week we've reverted back to the usual format of no boost, just pure unaltered racing. Yeah, so no boost this week, and we're going off last week's qualifying session. So I believe that is, let's have a look, the grid order should be here. That is Campbell on pole, Palmer second, Whiteout third, Wilders Monk fourth, James Head fifth, Nico sixth, Ancient Plebs seventh, Dan eighth, Kyle ninth, Pagan 10th, Noble 11th, Verstappen 12th, Rickarich 13th, and there are probably a couple more down there that I can't see. So, as we try and load in to spectate, hopefully that will work once we start loading up. Here we go. Let's get all my options up. Keyboards, here we go. So, Campbell starting on pole. Really dominant race, even with the boost last week. Had a massive gap to anyone behind him. But the boost had such a massive effect on everyone else's race that we had to really go again. So we'll head off with Campbell as we start off for round 1 2.0 of the League of Europe Porsche Cup. Heading up to the line now, rolling start, so pretty big gaps to begin with. Let's see how it goes. So everyone getting off to a pretty smooth start at the moment, as you'd expect with a rolling start. No, just put your foot down, no reactions or anything required. Everyone getting across quickly. And we are off. So Campbell defending from Palmer, who's ahead of Whiteout and Wildest Monk, and everyone's sort of separated by half a second at the moment. There was a big gap between Pleb and Dan as Pleb gets past Nico. Let's see if we can catch all that overtake there. Nico, Nico went wide. Rejoins without impeding Pleb, and Pleb gets the move done. So already an overtake on the race. Hopefully we won't, by removing the boost, we haven't sacrificed the quality of racing we got last week. So, we've got Conrad Racing, I don't recognise, it must be new. So Campbell is defending from Palmer ahead of Whiteout, top three, building up a little bit of a gap towards the Wildest Monk, who's in fourth. James Head fifth, Ancient Pleb sixth, Nico in seventh, and getting a 9/10 penalty. I believe he has to slow down on the straight to get rid of that rather than waiting for the corners, like is possible, but is somewhat of a cheat, as we see. Yep, here he's slowing down to avoid to serve that penalty. Dan in 8th, Kyle in 9th, Pagan in 10th, Verstappen in 12th, who's just been overtaken by Noble, who went up the inside. Good move there from Noble in the BWT sponsored car. Rickarich in 13th and Conrad Racing in 14th. So we've got a three-way battle for the lead at the moment. Campbell leads the first lap in the prime position. He's still leading and will hope to do what he did last week and have a completely dominant race, although I think it'll be more of a challenge. He won't be able to pull away as easily as he did. It looks like Jax has got a bug. I don't know if that is warranting a restart. I would assume not, but I can't be certain. As Palmer looks to go round the outside of turn 1, he goes round the outside, he's looking round. Campbell leaves just enough space, he's on the curbs. Palmer really on the back of Campbell now, really on his gearbox like a gearbox mechanic. He's really trying to get past him, extremely close, less than a tenth and a half. He's got a little bit of a gap to Whiteout. Palmer doing really well to avoid contact with the car ahead. Let's keep on board with Campbell for the time being. Not Campbell, sorry, Palmer hunting down Campbell as quickly as he possibly can. Of course, no, as I said, no boost and normal slipstream, I believe, so no unfair advantage, or some would say fair advantages, no advantage for being further behind. So Campbell, 2 tenths behind, 2 tenths ahead of Palmer. Coming onto the main straight now. Will Campbell be able to make a move? I keep mixing their names up. Palmer. Will Palmer be able to make a move? We've got a train of 5 cars with leaders. James Head has got up to 5th. So Campbell still leads into the section at the end, into the final sector, sorry. Palmer in second, on the back of him Whiteout, Wildest Monk and James Head. He's then got a 3-second gap to Ancient Pleb, who's defending from QVR Nico. Only a tenth and a half between them there, and there's a big gap between Dan and Pagan, who's defending from Kyle, who's dropped down to 10th after I believe he started 9th of what was a poor qualifying last week. Noble defending from Verstappen after he got past him. Oh, and Verstappen almost bins it. He goes onto the grass. Unfortunate for him there. He's gone onto the grass. He's retained his position, but he's lost a huge amount of time to the cars ahead. Let's see if we can catch that there. Right on the back of him. Goes onto the gravel. On a pad, it's going to be really hard to correct that. It does well not to hit anyone or hit those barriers on the outside. So let's have a look for the lead. Palmer has dropped back a bit from Campbell, and Whiteout dropped back a bit from Palmer. Obviously that dirty air not helping him. Wildest Monk right on the back of Whiteout still, and James Head even closer on the back of the Wildest Monk. Going up the inside, he's looking for a move. There's no gap for him there. Following around the outside, up and towards the left-hander. He's lost a bit of time there. Not as good as exit, as Wildest Monk is right on the back of Whiteout now. Sorry, I was just checking if the stream was all up and running. It looks like it is. Apologies for this. Yep, we are running smoothly, just double checking. So, gap spreading out a little bit, definitely not as close as it was last week with the boost. I believe we're missing one of the Indian drivers, aren't we? I can't remember what his name was, I'm really sorry. But we're missing one of the 3 Indian drivers. Campbell is starting to build up a bit of a lead to Palmer behind him now. For the QVR driver extending his gap to a 2.5 seconds. Palmer just behind. Cloudy Cloud says, let's go Dan. TJ from last week says, hey guys, just about couldn't make it. Good luck to all the drivers. Yep, I second that. Good luck to everyone in this race. Hopefully we're getting some tight racing. Whiteout is catching up to the back of Palmer. Wildest Monk just behind him, James Head just behind him. So, looks like we've got a battle for second. QVR again is going to want to capitalise on these battles behind him and just pull away. 34 remaining in this race. Let's see what tyres the people on. So Campbell and Palmer, Whiteout, Monk, James Head, Nico are on the softs, Ancient Pleb on the mediums. So it's Dan, Pagan, Kyle, Noble, Verstappen's on the softs, Rickeritz on the mediums, and Conrad Racing is on the softs as he goes wide up at turn 3. So Campbell now with a gap of over 2 seconds. He's going to want to. We know he can do it. We know he can build on this gap. It's sort of a question of just will he bottle it or not. I don't think he will. I don't think Palmer's got a chance of catching him unless he does something with the strategy. But he's got worse tyres and the same amount of fuel, so little he can really do with the cards he's been dealt at the moment. Whiteout just behind him as Monk tries to look round the outside. James Head just behind them. Real close battle for second here. Got another comment on the stream. Let's have a look. Nope, nothing's come up. Not sure why that was. Oh, he says, Ashkat Argawal says, go Wildest Monk. Well, he's in 4th at the moment. He'll be wanting a podium place. They're all very close. Campbell again is just extending on this gap. Let's see if there's any battles further down. Nico defending from Ancient Pleb and XL Dan. 2 orange cars, not teammates though. Very similar colour schemes. As they're getting this slipstream, let's ride on board with Ancient Pleb. Actually, just go with Dan. See if there's any chance for an overtake from anyone. Doesn't really look like it. A bit too far apart for them, really. And it looks like there's no other real close battles. Rickeritz on the back of Verstappen. He's going to get pretty close to the end of this straight, but not close enough. Whiteout on the back of Palmer, catching up. He's gone. He's doing his personal best lap at the moment. Right on the back of Palmer. Really beautiful livery from Palmer there, I must say. Obviously inspired by the Porsche 911 GTE. These cars are of course 911 GTEs, but sort of brought down to Group 3 GC3 spec. Really beautiful livery from him there, and I really like. That's really nice. As who's that? Wildest Monk goes spinning off into the gravel. Let's have a look what happened there. Wildest Monk looks like he just went too deep into that corner. We're right on board with him as he goes off. So he's behind the other two in this train that we've seen for the last few laps. Does he go onto the grass? Yep, touches the grass and that's it. He's got no there. Sorry, I think I was on mute then. So I was just going through the grid order. Campbell first, Palmer second, Whiteout third, James Head fourth, Nico fifth, Pleb sixth, Dan seventh, Pagan eighth, Kyle ninth, Wildest Monk 10th, Noble 11th, Verstappen 12th, Rickarich 13th, Conrod Racing 14th, and currently in last. Verstappen's got a 1.3 second time penalty for track limits. Nico is in the pits, and Verstappen is one of his QVR teammates of sorts is following him. Nico getting pretty early, going on to the mediums, trying to possibly get an undercut on the drivers ahead of him. He did have a pretty big gap to those ahead. Campbell now has a 3-second gap. Whiteout right on the back of Palmer. Let's see if he can make a move up into this section. Ancient Pleb still in 5th. He stayed ahead of Dan, who's just behind him. Oh sorry, no, Wildest Monk actually dropped down to 9th as Kyle has got up to 8th. Wildest Monk's going to be really pushing to get back up the field now. He'll feel pretty robbed after that, but it was his own fault for touching the grass. Just obviously misjudged the corner a little bit. He's right on the back of Kyle. He's on softs while Kyle's on the mediums, and Kyle's mediums are actually worse than Wildest Monk's softs. And it says Monk pitted on lap 3. I'm not sure how true that is. But Monk is right on the back of Kyle. Is he going to make a move up into this straight? He goes to the right. He's looking for a move. There's no chance of one there. Nico's only a couple of seconds or he's going to drop back a bit now after serving that penalty. As Wildest Monk looks up the inside of Kyle, up into the left-hander. Is he going to stay up the inside? He's going to back out of it there. Stay right on the back of him for now. Is he going to make a move into the technical section? Kyle's tyres are much worse, and they're the harder compound. So as Campbell and all the top four head into the pits, I assume Pleb will as well. So all the top 4 into the pits. Dan and Pagan stay out. They're of course on the mediums. They started on the mediums and they'll stay on for a little longer. As is Pagan going to come out in front of the leaders? He's going to come out in Whiteout and Palmer, and it looks like Whiteout has jumped Palmer in the pits. He's obviously been saving fuel and didn't refuel as much as Palmer did, and he's now on the medium tyres. Palmer's back on the soft, so we want to get past him as soon as possible. They'll be held up in this traffic now. Whereas Campbell, of course, has just jumped this traffic and he's speeding away into the distance. So Palmer already looks to be past Whiteout, going up the inside. Backmarker jumps out of the way. He's not really a backmarker, he's still finding position, but he might have just gone wide there. But if he was there to get out of the way, that is quite honourable. And Palmer retains the position and he's up into 4th, which is provisional second. Oh no, James Head got ahead of them all. He didn't refuel. He might have been fuel saving more. But that's how he jumped them in the pits. Of course, a shorter pit stop if you don't refuel. Campbell in first, only 1.3 ahead of James, but he did refuel quite a bit, it looks like. Conrad still in last by 16 seconds. Verstappen had a pretty poor race so far. Hopefully he'll be able to catch up to the back of the field. So, Pagan defending from Wildest Monk. Is there going to be a move here? I think it's a bit too far back at the moment. A bit of a train here behind Nico, the Ancient Pleb, and Kyle. Kyle on old mediums, Pleb on fresh softs behind Nico on fresh mediums as he goes up the inside. Great move from the Ancient Pleb there, getting up the inside of a really tight corner. And he's got ahead, but he's only just ahead going onto the main straight, but he's already built up a 7/10 gap going into the straight. So, James Head is actually catching up to Campbell a bit here. So Nico trying to stay with Ancient Pleb. I think it'll be a bit of a lost cause because he is on much worse, he's on older, sorry not older, he's on harder tyres. I know SLM stands for Straight Line Motorsports TJ. I was in that league for not very long. Didn't particularly get on with certain someone, but we'll leave the politics aside for now. QVR Nico is dropping back from Pleb a bit. That's expected on his softer tyres. James Head less than a second behind Campbell now. Campbell might have... No, Campbell shouldn't be fuel saving. He's got a lot more fuel than James. James is obviously really pushing to catch up. There's a bit of a gap between the rest of the top guys now. Closest gap is Dan on the back of Kyle on much fresher softs compared to his old mediums. I would presume, I'd guess he's going to be able to make a move by the end of the next straight. Akshat Argual, didn't the same race happen last week? Yes, it did, but we've had to, as Dan, of course, goes round the outside of Kyle, is he going to be able to make that move stick? We'll ride behind Kyle, see if that's going to stay. I would assume it would, but Kyle's going to go up the inside. Bit of contact there. Kyle went a bit deep. Dan might be a bit fuming about that. He's going to try and... He gives him a little love tap in return. Hopefully that wasn't intentional. But he's on much faster tyres. It'll be a few seconds a lap faster. It's just going to be constantly frustrating to be stuck behind him. Yes, Akshat Agarwal, didn't the same race happen last week? It did, but it was decided by the admins as Exodan's going to get past him here pretty easily after a great run off the final corner. Yes, it was decided that since the boost and altered slipstream caused so much chaos that it would be best to retry the race with last week's qualifying, as there's more contact between Dan and Kyle. Yes, we thought it would be best to use last week's qualifying. We'll run the race again without boost, as Palmer's right back on the back of James Head on his fresher tyres. Let's ride through the driver cam with Palmer as he's trying to catch up to the top two. I believe there is a requirement to use both sets of tyres, both the softs and the mediums in this series. So the front two have fulfilled their tyre requirement, and Palmer hasn't, but I believe they will be all probably be stopping once or twice more, since we're not even halfway through yet and they've both stopped already. So, Palmer, the closest gap at the moment I believe is between Palmer and James. Let's check if there's any other close ones. Close one between Dan and Nico, who's of course got past Carl and already pulled out a 2.7 second gap, just showing the strength of his fresher tyres. Conrad, 42 seconds behind the leader now, is completely out of this race at the moment. Team Speed, I recognise that team. So Campbell's pulled away from James a bit now. Palmer's on the back of James. James, I guess, just served the penalty as he's really backed off from the straight and Palmer's gone through. So obviously thinking about the long game there, and I believe he would have had to serve it on that straight unless he was just letting him through, in which I think would be a pretty silly way to do it in my opinion if he was just letting him through, since he lost so much time. He's lost basically a second to him after, because he was half a second behind and he was half a second in front, now he's half a second behind. But I believe he would have just been serving a penalty, as Pleb looks to go around the inside of Whiteout. Is he going to get that move done? Whiteout tries to stick around the outside. There's a bit of contact between the two drivers there. Will Whiteout be able to stay on the outside? Is he going to be hung out to dry? No, he tries to switch back, looking for the inside line of the next corner. Is he going to have to dive up? No, he's not. On the medium tyres versus Pleb softs, Whiteout, is he going to be able to stay with him and slipstream on the main straight to get through? Right behind him, less than 2 tenths, but he's on worse tyres. If this is his last chance to sort of stay ahead of him. If he doesn't get ahead of him on this straight, I believe that's it for the time being, until the next pit stops, until the strategy takes effect. I believe he's too far back to make a move. So that looks like Pleb into 4th position, but he is on the soft tyres, and those tyres of course will last a lot shorter than the mediums. Campbell built up another gap of 2 seconds to Palmer. We've seen this before. I heard a squeal, but I think that was just fast drivers creating tyre squeal. I don't think that was a spin. As Whiteout is still on the back of Pleb, but he might be able to stick on him through the final straight here, but I believe it's probably a bit too much to ask. So right on board, let's see if he can slipstream his way anywhere into an overtaking position for the next by the end of the straight. He pulls out of the slipstream. There's a bit of odd driving from him there. You'd think he'd want to stay in it. I'm guessing he's just sort of accepted his fate that he's not going to be able to catch back up to Whiteout, to Pleb, sorry, until the pit stops, playing the long game, of course. So James, still only a second behind Palmer. He's only lost 3/10 on that last lap. He may get a penalty for running wide there, but I don't think he will. Yes, he did. I was right. He got half a second penalty. Loses the back end through that corner, but that really won't help his chances. Any other gaps? Oh, Rickowicz defending from Noble in for 11th position. Noble right behind him. Let's see the tyre situation. Rickowicz has probably just got past him. Let's see if we can rewind to that. No, it looked like it was just a defence. Let's see how he defended this position. Kyle and Pagan going into the pits. Noble looks for the inside, but no chance really. Looks at the inside. Yeah, the gap was always closing there. Did well to back out. So Rickowicz pulling away from Noble. Let's see. Kyle 2.1 seconds behind Verstappen. He's on the softs now. I'm guessing he'll do another stop. Guess he'll do the two-stop strategy because he's been on the mediums. He's done his tyre requirement now. So back to the action. Palmer's got a 2.5 second gap to Campbell in front. He's just got a penalty. He's had to back off from the straight. He had a big gap to James, who's also got a penalty. So, oh, and James just got rid of his penalty in the braking zone. I'm not sure if that's allowed. Pleb behind him in fourth. Caught right on the back of him now on his soft tyres. James had on pretty warm mediums. Pleb on pretty warm soft. It's going to be an interesting battle to see whose tyres are actually better here. Whiteout falling behind a little bit, maybe saving fuel, really counting on having a short pit stop. He's got a bit more fuel than the other guys, but less than Campbell, probably about the same amount as Palmer. As Pagan looks to go up the inside of Noble, he goes a bit deep. Is he going to be able to hold on to that position? He does not. Let's see if we can rewind and look at that overtake. Or the attempted overtake, I should say. He looks to go up the inside. He's got a 1.6 second penalty. Goes at the inside, goes way too deep, runs off wide. And Noble is able to retain his position. So Campbell now with a 3.5 second lead after Palmer got that penalty. He's only 2.5 seconds ahead of James, who's only 3/10 now ahead of the ancient Pleb. Let's follow on board with Pleb now, the Indian driver. Let's see if he can make a move up into this section. Bit too far back to make a move into the sort of hairpin. Tighter than it looks, that corner. Right on the back of him now. Really close, tiny bit of contact it looked like, but nothing report worthy. He goes onto the gravel slide. He's going to lose time there. Going into the right-hander. James' head goes wide. Is he going to be able to? Is Pleb going to be able to capitalise on this poor run from James? James really defending now. He's looking in his mirrors. He's lost a bit of time. James, and they both head into the pits. So who's going to have the quicker pit stop? I believe it will be Pleb, as he's got slightly more fuel. Campbell stays out for another lap. His tyres are in great condition. Everyone else seems to have pitted. So who will come out on top at the end of these pit stops? Whiteout, let's see behind him. Nico, is he going to jump these guys in the pits? Are they going to get ahead? Dan comes out ahead of James, who's still refueling. Palmer still refueling. Pleb still refueling. They're all coming out now. Who's going to be first? Palmer out first, ahead of Pleb, who's ahead of James. He's jumped James in the pit stop, like I predicted. He's got, or did he? Did he jump James? Yes, he did. Now Pleb is behind his teammate Wildest Monk. Hopefully Monk will realise that he needs to let him through, because Pleb is battling for a podium here. And they are teammates, of course. Will there be team orders? Are they in a party that are letting each other know that I'm here, let me through? I'm battling with James and Whiteout and Palmer for a podium position. He gets up the inside, job done. Now he'll want his teammate Monk to hold up James and Kyle as best as he can to try and extend the gap ahead of him. So will Campbell pit this lap, or will he just keep... His tyres are good, they're much better than Whiteout. He's got a 9-second gap to him, and he's got much more fuel. It looks like Campbell so far, providing there is no bottle, he's got this in the bag. Hopefully that's not the commentator's curse, touch wood. So big gaps at the moment after the pit stops, of course. There looks to be a battle, as Palmer, of course, is on the mediums. He will want to extend the gap as well, defend his gap as best as he can on the harder tyres now. The guys behind him are on softs, apart from James, who's back on the mediums again. Maybe attempting to go the rest of the race on these tyres. Looking up the inside of Monk, who's on, of course, older mediums, but only a few laps older. They're not dead in the water yet. James Head looks to go up the inside. Is he going to be able to make a move into this extremely tight corner? He makes the move. Great overtake from James there into one of the tightest corners on the track as Monk heads into the pits, and so does Nico. Focus on the leaders. Campbell and Whiteout still haven't pitted. Dan, only a 7-second gap to Whiteout ahead of him. I'm guessing Whiteout want to go to the mediums and then not stop again. Dan will have to stop on those soft tyres. So Kyle on the back of James. He's on worn softs. They'll probably be about the same condition, same speed around one lap as James's tyres, but of course they're going to just get it progressively worse and worse. Pagan on the back of Rickovic, and Nico is coming through as well on fresh softs. Rickovic holding them up. He's on really worn softs. Are they both going to be able to get past? Is one going to be able to get past? Let's see up into this corner. Pagan looks up the inside, makes the move. Bit of contact between the two drivers there, and that allows Nico to get through as well. Now he's right back on the back of Pagan. He's on a few lap fresher tyres, probably I think about 3 or 4 laps fresher. Will he be able to capitalise on his tyre advantage as Pagan gets pretty squirrely through that corner? Nico right on the back of him, coming up to the S section before the fast right-hander. Nico looking to get a good exit up the hill and onto the straight. He looks a bit far behind to be able to make a move into the corner, but we will see. There's of course strong slipstream on this game, even though the settings aren't set to strong, they're set to real, I believe. But slipstream on this game is still pretty overpowered, but he's too far back to make a move unless he makes an outrageous dive bomb, which of course he thinks better of. So big gaps all around us. Pleb's got a 3/10 times penalty. XL Dan really catching up to Whiteout now. He's only 3.5 seconds behind. He's caught up. He's caught up 4 seconds on that lap, almost exactly. Whiteout now still dropping back from Campbell. He's really controlling his pace, really managing his tyres and fuel. He's doing a superb job at the moment. Dan really want to capitalise on this, get as close as he possibly can. He's going to have to refuel soon. He hasn't put much fuel in. That seems like a bit of a waste of the soft tyres to not refuel and only be on them for a few laps. He's got loads of tyre life left, but barely any fuel. That may have been a mistake by him, or just poor planning, or maybe it is his strategy. Maybe it will all come off well for him. Conrad, unfortunately for him, 40 seconds behind the next car. Rickovic and Verstappen are in the pits. Rickovic has come out ahead of Verstappen, who's gone onto the softs. No, he's onto the mediums. Wildest Monk in 11th. Noblade 10th, Nico 9th, on the back of Pagan still. Will he be able to get past him this lap? Bit of a gap between them at the moment, not massive, only 0.5 of a second. So will he be able to get a good run up the S, through the hill, and go overtake? He's much closer this time. Will this be an opportunity to get past him? He won't go for it up this hill, up this right-hander, it's just too fast. But will he be able to get a good run? He loses the back end a little bit. Will that compromise his exit? He's still gaining. No, he's pulling back a little bit. He's not going to be able to make a move here, surely. No, thinks better of it. Takes a wider line, looking for a better exit into the tight technical section at the end of the lap, the final sector. 13 minutes to go in this race. Dan has just pitted after what seemed to be a poor strategy call. Maybe he accidentally stopped refueling, or maybe this is just his strategy. So Whiteout still in second behind Campbell. 12-second gap now. Campbell is still going on those mediums, who look to be probably going to... He'll probably go on the softs now, but he'll probably play it safe and go back on the mediums. As I'll take a quick water break. So back with the action. Palmer's got a 10-second gap to Whiteout, but he's defending half a second gap to Pleb behind him. He's on the mediums. They're in better condition than Pleb's soft, so he should be able to defend from him now. Let's have a look if Pleb can make a move. As Nico has got past Pagan. I may have missed that. Let's see if we can see it on the stream. Yep, he's got past him there. Must have got past him on the main straight. Apologies for missing that. So now Pleb right on the back of Palmer. Is he going to be able to get him up into the straight? He's going to look to get a good exit onto the straight, and he has. He's got a really solid exit. He might be able to get him before the corner, If not, he'll look to go on the inside. Palmer defends to the outside. Will Pleb be able to make a move? He stays up the inside. Little tiny bit of contact, but no one spins, luckily. Pleb still on the inside. Now he backs out there. Campbell finally comes into the pits. Will Whiteout follow him? He must follow him now. He's got no fuel left. He's got no tyres. As it looks like he is. There's a bit of lag there. A bit of lag for me. I'm not sure if that's his or my connection. It seems to probably be just the game being its usual glitchy self. So will Pleb now be able to make a move in on the straight? He's only 2 tenths behind. Let's ride through driver cam with him, see if he can make a move before the end of the straight, or if not, into the corner. He goes to the inside. He's going to have the inside line for the first section, but then the outside line for the second part of the corner. He gets the move done. Palmer looks for the switchback. No space there. Looks for the inside. No space there. Is he going to be able to stick with him whilst he's on the harder tyres? And looks like Pleb got a much better exit there. He's pulling away slightly, coming into the right-hander now. Whiteout has dropped down to 6th, but he probably won't be pitting again, as we've got another viewer on the stream. Thank you for watching. We've got Whiteout in 6th, Dan 5th, James 4th. He's dropped back a bit. He's got a bit of a gap ahead and behind him. Palmer still right on the back of Pleb, only half a second. But it looks like Pleb's really making the most of his soft tyres, even though they aren't in the best condition. They're still probably faster than Palmer's mediums. So Campbell back on the softs. Not sure how good his tyre management is, but he probably, I'd assume, make it to the end of the race now. As Pagan's got quite a hefty penalty there. A second and a half will probably get a bit more for cutting that corner, or he might have got away with it there. Obviously the game didn't view that as a corner cut, gaining an advantage. Kyle not as quick as I thought he was going to be. He had a really good race last week, and I've raced against him a few times. I know he's quick, but he's struggled a bit here today. He's still down in 9th. He has just pitted though, and he won't have to pit again on these soft tyres. He's going to want to make up a couple of positions now, but he's got a pretty big gap to most of the guys ahead of him. Palmer falling back a bit to Pleb, but he's going to want to gain. He'll probably gain that back by the end of the race with his harder tyres, which last longer. So James heading 4th, Whiteout in 5th. Only 2.5 seconds. As Dan is really on the back of Whiteout now. It looks like, did Whiteout just get past Dan, or has Dan caught up to Whiteout? Yeah, Whiteout just got past Dan. He made a move up into the inside. Pretty simple. He's on the softer tyres, battling alongside each other. Bit of door-to-door racing, but looked all pretty clean to me. Campbell extending his lead to 8.5 seconds now, unless he makes a big mistake. Very familiar story. He's got it in the bag. Pleb is fallen out a second and a bit gap to Palmer. Will Palmer be able to capitalise on his better, longer-lasting tyres by the end of the race? Whiteout, his car's pretty messed up at the front. Will he be able to defend from Dan now? He's got a big slipstream, but looks a bit too far back to make a move, and Whiteout should extend that gap. He's now hunting down James Head. He's on fresher softs. He should be able to catch. I would assume he'd be able to catch him by the end of this race, considering he's on the fresher, softer tyres. Pleb probably coming in soon. He's got pretty worn tyres, defending from Palmer. Will Pleb come in? No, he looks like he's staying out. I don't know if he's going to try and make it to the end of the race on these tyres. That'll be a miracle if he could. His tyres will be really struggling now. Look at that left front and the bottom left. It's really struggling. Campbell, of course, still 10 seconds clear. No hassle for him at the moment. They've got a bit of a battle forming up, as Whiteout is already a 10th behind James, and it looks like he's going to get that move done. And he gets that move done into turn 1. Let's see if we can catch the moment that he got past. Obviously caught up through the tight section with James's worst tyres. Pretty easy overtake in the end. Locks up a bit, it looks like, but gets that move done. So Whiteout is going to be chasing Palmer down now. I don't know if Palmer's planning on pitting again. I don't know if Pleb's planning on pitting again. Pleb has to pit this or the next lap, surely. He's got really worn soft tyres. They're not going to last much longer. Palmer's going to probably try and hold on to the end of the race on his medium tyres. Only 6.5 minutes remaining of this race. Palmer, of course, with a tribute to his late father on the back of the car. Really nice touch there. Whiteout, of course, repping the Apex Racing team livery along with his teammate Kyle, who's still down in 8th. Still trying to catch up to Monk. Nico has dropped down. Not sure what's happened to him there. He's just pitted, in fact, but it looked like a really slow pit stop, if I'm not mistaken. But he's back right at the back of Parga now. He's on fresh soft. Let's have a look if he can make a move up into the final sector, maybe into the first sector. It's on the back of him now. Nico's a pretty quick driver, but he's going to have a bit of work cut out to get past Parga. They've on pretty similar tyres. But Parga has got a penalty, which he should theoretically get rid of this lap. He should get rid of it on the straight, I believe. I'm not too clear on the rules on getting rid of penalty, but Nico might not even need him to slow down. He's going to try and get past him round the outside. Is he going to be able to get that move done? Looks around the outside. No, thinks better of it. Parga goes a little bit deep. No, he doesn't. He gets that perfect line. Nico looking for the switchback, but doesn't get it done. Is he going to be able to get him up into this corner? He's looking up the inside of this fast right-hander. Parga leaving barely any space. Nico says, I'm here, get out the way. Coming through. Is he going to be able to get up the inside of this right-hander? He dives up. Parga goes pretty deep, and he goes too deep and decides probably to serve his penalty. Although I'm not sure if that was a decision to serve or just went too deep and it automatically went. So Whiteout really pushing to catch up with Pleb now. He's got past Palmer. That was pretty inevitable, really, on his fresher tyres. Now he's really want to be catching up to Pleb. He's 14 seconds behind Gamble, who's just once again completely dominated this race. Led from lights to flag, as it is at the moment, unless he, like I say, unless he creates a huge bottle and or someone takes him out, or he'd have to, basically he'd have to have really bad luck or poor driving to bottle it now. And that's Whiteout, still pretty laggy for me, still jittering all over the scene. Let's be Pleb as well. His tyres are screwed. Like I said last week, he's running on rims. He's got no tyres left whatsoever. It's only a matter of time before Whiteout gets past him. His tyres aren't great as Dan looks to get up the inside of Palmer, which he does on the straight. Let's have a look at that on the replay as they go battling into the next corner, but you'd believe that Dan would get that move done. Palmer just got no tyres left. Yeah, pretty easy move for him in the end. Gets past on the straight. I believe he kept that position as well. Yes, he did. Palmer just behind him, really trying to hold on to 5th ahead of James now, who is on pretty worn tyres, but nowhere near as bad as Palmer's. Whiteout has got up into 2nd ahead of Ancient Pleb. Another inevitable move, really, on the fresher tyres. Look at the grip he has. Goes round the outside. Great run up the hill. And gets past him into this corner. Great move from Whiteout there. Really good strategy, just unfortunately for him, not as good as Campbell's. So any other small gaps at the moment? Palmer dropping back from down a bit. James catching up to Palmer. Kyle still in 8th. He's really struggled again this race, or I shouldn't say again, that's a bit harsh. He struggled to make progress in this race. I believe he's made up 1 or 2 positions from the start, but he's not done as well as his teammate who's up in 2nd. That will be a bit of a disappointment for him. I know he'll want to improve on that for next week. Campbell, look at that gap behind him. 15 seconds pretty much. Will we even be able to see Whiteout come to the straight? No, we won't. As he just enters the straight now. 2 laps remaining, it looks like, for the lead guys. As James really pushing to catch up with Palmer now. He's gained 8 tenths lap, but he's just got a 5-tenth penalty for running wide at that final corner. Will that cost him a P5, as it looked like it was going to catch him in the next 2 laps, as he does back off before the corner and he serves his penalty. Will he be able to catch up to Palmer? He's got 2 laps to make up 1.6 seconds. Will he be able to do it? It's already down to 1.1. Really, even with Palmer's tyres, you look at the front left, it's just screwed. He's just going to really have to drive for his life to hold on. He's already 1.2 seconds down on his best lap in the very first sector. And James Head already a second behind him. Will he be able to make a move on this lap, or will he have to wait till next lap? Let's ride on board with him. He's got loads of fuel, much better tyres than Palmer. Not great tyres himself, so it'll still be a struggle to keep it on the track. But he's going to really have to push to catch up to Palmer now. He's already down to 9/10 of a second. Will he be able to make a move on this lap? I don't think so. I think we have to wait till the final lap of the race for a move up into P5. Pleb still only... Dan has caught up massively to Pleb now. He's only 5 tenths behind him. This looks like Dan is going to be able to push for P3 on the inside of another orange car. Of course, not teammates as I mentioned earlier, just very similar colour schemes. He's got to get him at the end of this straight, surely. He's right on the back of him now, less than half a second behind. He's got much better tyres. Look at the tyre difference. Pleb's tyres are nowhere to be seen, really, as Dan again going to get past him on the straight before the corner. No hassle there, surely, unless he's not going to be able to make any ground while he's not in the slipstream. He goes right to the inside. Is he going to be able to make that move stick? I think he will. Yep, another inevitable move, really. Fresher tyres, really catching. Pleb had no chance, just got hold on now. James Head only a 10th and a half behind Palmer on the final lap. Let's ride on board. Campbell still with a massive gap to Whiteout. No trouble for him there. As James Head really scrolling through this corner. Look at the grip difference he has through this right-hander. He gives him a little tap there, letting him know he's there. Looks to the inside. Palmer's got to really accept the inevitable here, unless he can really defend. No, he looks like he backs out of that, thinks better of it. Look to the switchback, actually. He looks to go back up the inside. Great defending from him, but then James is going to have the inside for the next corner. Is he going to make that move stick? Yes, he is. Palmer look for the switchback again as James goes pretty deep. Will Palmer be able to defend on his worn tyres? His tyres have got no grip whatsoever left. Will he be able to gain that P5 back? This is the closest battle we've got on track. Looks up the inside. No contact there, but he couldn't get past. James really scrolling up there. Is Palmer going to be able to get through up the inside of the fast right-hander? He looks to the inside. He's up. Looking to go up the inside. James looking for the switchback. He gets it. He's looking to go past him on this main straight. James only less than a 10th difference between them. Is Palmer going to be able to stick it round on the inside? Looks like he does. James looking for the switchback. He gets the move done. He's up. There's a bit of contact there. A bit of squirreling from Palmer. Campbell, of course, wins the race. Almost too easy for him. Look, James Head only a 10th and a half behind in front of Palmer. Is he going to be able to retain this P5? I believe he will. Palmer's got no chance left, really. Really valiant effort from him. Unless he can get past him on the straight after James Head gets a bad exit. I don't think he will. Could be close, but no. James Head's going to get P5. Really great effort from Palmer there on those mediums, but just couldn't make it count. Really good effort from Pleb as well to stay fourth with those tyres. I've never seen such worn tyres in a league race. So, finishing order. Campbell, Whiteout, Dan on the podium. Campbell takes the victory for the first round of the season. Round 1, 2.0 as it were. League of Europe, GT3, Division 1. Takes the victory there. Like I say, almost too easy. So, we'll try and invite Campbell to the party again, as we did last week. So just try and invite Campbell to the party. So yeah, even without the boost, really good race there. Non-stop action throughout. I still really enjoyed the boost race. Congratulations to Campbell. The boost race was great, but it was just a bit too chaotic for these drivers. I really enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, it's the drivers. So Campbell has joined the party. Congratulations. Hello again.
Hello again. Thank you.
Well, same race, different week.
Yeah, it was deja vu there at the end,
Yeah.
at the gap, and I played the exact same strategy as I did last week. I knew it worked for me, so I didn't see why I should change. Pit the same laps, filled up the same amount,
Yeah.
or roughly the same, and I got the same result.
I think it was even
Not
better.
too bad at all.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
really dominant performance again. Perfect strategy, like you say, deja vu a bit. You would have thought Whiteout would have learned from last week the best strategy, but obviously not, finishing 16 seconds behind you. But obviously a lot less chaos in that race.
I think some of the guys at the first stops didn't take fuel on,
Yeah,
and I think that's what they put them back in the traffic. Or
yeah.
they took fuel on somewhere that caused that.
Yeah, definitely. Palmer, you were the only one that got ahead of the traffic. You planned that perfectly, obviously. The rest of them got caught up in the traffic, and that was sort of it.
Yeah, I'm just happy again with the result. Obviously,
Yep.
quite rightly, the results were like worst after last week because it just wasn't fair on most people.
Yeah.
So to do it again, I just wanted to get the same result, and got it. So I'm quite
And luckily for me, even with such a dominant performance, it was still very entertaining, but of course not quite as much chaos. Not a great result for your QVR teammates. Can you tell me what happened with them?
I think it was just, I think Nico got a penalty or two early on, which obviously knocked him back a bit, having to serve it on the straights, as the rules are, yeah.
Yep.
And Verstappen, he's usually drives on pad, but on GT Sport he's trying on wheel, so he's not quite got the pace he does in off games.
Right.
But he's determined to pick up. He's enjoying the challenge on the wheel, so hopefully give it a few races. He'll be
good to see he's finally on a proper machine. I thought it was on pad because he had a couple of moments that were pretty hairy, but obviously that's because he's new to the game and the wheel. But solid performance from you, carrying the QVR boys, and another dominant performance. So congratulations.
No, thank you, no problem.
Perfect. Well, we'll see you next week. Do you know what track it is next week?
I believe it's Fuji or
Fuji. Good.
Acropolis maybe.
Oh,
it's Monza. Sorry, Monza.
Monza. Perfect. Hopefully even more good racing. So thank you for watching the stream. Congratulations to Campbell, and we'll hopefully see you next week at Monza.